The kitchen clock ticked louder than usual that morning, like it knew something was about to break. Sarah Miller stood at the counter in her suburban Ohio home, staring at the coffee as it filled her mug. Outside, the neighborhood was waking. Up cars starting, school buses stopping, leaves scraping across driveways. Inside, everything felt still. She thought it would be an ordinary day. She didn't hear her son walk in. She didn't hear the door open or his shoes on the floor. She only heard his voice, calm and steady, carrying words she was not ready for. "Mom," Ethan said, "why do you pretend you don't miss being loved?" The sentence landed hard. Sarah's hand tightened around the mug. For a moment, she thought she imagined it. She turned slowly and saw her 16-year-old son standing near the kitchen doorway, his backpack hanging from one shoulder, his face serious in a way that didn't match his age. "What did you say?" she asked. Ethan didn't look away. "I said you don't have to hide it anymore." Her heart began to race. Parents expect many things from teenagers: silence, noise, impatience, but not honesty this sharp. "I'm fine," Sarah said quickly. "You're going to be late for school." Ethan stepped into the kitchen. "You always say that?" She looked down, pretending to straighten a napkin. The truth was, she had learned how to say "I'm fine" so easily that even she believed it. Most days, 10 years had passed since her marriage ended. 10 years of routines, responsibility, and quiet evenings. She built her life around Ethan and never complained. But pretending didn't mean feeling nothing. "I saw the picture," Ethan said. Her breath caught. "What picture?" she asked, though she already knew. "The one in the drawer," he said, "with the man by the lake." The drawer. The one she never opened unless she was alone. The one with old letters, an old photo, and a version of herself she locked away. "That's private," Sarah said. Not angry, just afraid. "I know," Ethan replied. "I wasn't snooping. It fell out when I was looking for batteries." She turned to face him fully now. Her son was tall, almost as tall as his father had been. But his eyes held something new: understanding. "You were smiling in that picture," Ethan continued. "Not like you smile at neighbors or teachers. Like real smiling." Sarah sat down at the table because her legs felt weak. That picture was from Michigan, a weekend trip years ago. A laugh caught in time before life became careful and guarded. "That was a long time ago," she said. Ethan nodded. "But it mattered." Silence filled the room, the kind that carries more weight than noise. Sarah remembered the day that photo was taken. The sound of water, the sun on her face, the feeling that someone saw her not just as a role but as a person. She remembered how quickly she told herself that feeling was dangerous. How quickly she shut it down. "I had to choose stability," she said softly. "I had to choose you." Ethan frowned. "Why does that mean you can't choose yourself too?" She looked at him, stunned. When had he grown old enough to ask questions like this? Before she could answer, he said something else, something that changed the air in the room. "He's back." Her heart skipped. "Who?" she asked, though her body already knew. "The man from the picture," Ethan said. "Saw him yesterday at the bookstore downtown. He asked if you still lived nearby." Sarah's chest tightened so fast it almost hurt. Daniel Carter. A name she hadn't spoken in years, but never forgot. A man who entered her life quietly and left it with respect when she told him she couldn't risk her son's world for her own feelings. "Why would he ask about me?" she whispered. "I don't know," Ethan said, but he looked hopeful. Hope, that word scared her more than loneliness ever had. Sarah stood up and walked to the sink, turning on the faucet. Though her hands were clean, the sound of running water helped her think. "I made a choice," she said. "Some doors close." Ethan shook his head. "Some doors wait." She turned back to him, eyes full. "You shouldn't have to worry about this." "I'm not worrying," Ethan said gently. "I'm paying attention." She realized then that her silence had taught him something too. That love was something you survive without. That adults give up parts of themselves quietly. That wasn't the lesson she wanted him to learn. Does it bother you? She asked. The idea that I might see someone. Ethan smiled faintly. It bothers me more that you don't. The clock ticked again, louder than before. Ethan checked his phone. I'm going to miss the bus, he said. I'll walk. She nodded, unable to speak. At the door, he paused. You don't have to decide anything today, he said. Just don't pretend it doesn't matter. Then he was gone. The house felt different after that. Not empty, exposed. Sarah stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the closed drawer across the room. The one that held a past she thought she buried for good. For the first time in years, she didn't tell herself to. Move on, she told herself to remember. The house was quiet, but her mind was loud. Every sound felt sharper: the refrigerator hum, the wind against the windows, the ticking clock in the hallway. She lay awake thinking about one sentence her son had said and one name she hadn't heard in years. Daniel Carter. By morning, the sky was gray and the air felt heavy. Sarah stood in the kitchen again, holding the same mug, standing in the same place. But nothing felt the same anymore. Ethan left for school without much talk. Before he walked out, he looked at her and said, "Whatever you choose, I'm okay." Stayed with her all day. She tried to focus on work, but numbers blurred on the screen. Her thoughts kept pulling her back to the bookstore downtown, to the smell of paper and coffee, to the idea that someone from her past had returned without warning. By lunchtime, she made a decision without saying it out loud. She grabbed her coat and keys and drove downtown. The bookstore bell rang when she stepped inside. The sound felt too loud. Her heart started beating fast, like it did before big moments she couldn't control. She didn't see him at first. Then she heard his voice. Sarah. She turned. Daniel stood near the shelves, holding a book, looking older but familiar. His hair had a few streaks of gray now. His face carried time, but his eyes were the same, calm, kind, careful. I didn't think you'd come, he said. I didn't think I would either, she replied. They stood there for a moment, not touching, not moving, just looking at each other like the years between them were thin. They sat at a small table by the window. Outside, people passed by without knowing anything about the quiet storm happening inside. I never meant to surprise you, Daniel said. I just moved back. Thought I'd see if you were okay. I was, Sarah said. Then she stopped. Herself. I am. Mostly. Daniel nodded. I figured. They talked easily after that. About work. About books. About how towns change and people stay the same in strange ways. They avoided the past, but it waited between every word. Finally, Sarah spoke it. I left because I was scared. I know, Daniel said. You chose what you thought was right. I chose safety, she replied. I didn't know how to choose both. Daniel looked at her carefully. I never asked you to. The honesty of that hurt and healed at the same time. They didn't make promises. They didn't talk about the future. When they stood to leave, Daniel said, If you ever want to talk again, I'm around. Sarah nodded. Thank you for saying. That night, she told Ethan everything. They sat at the kitchen table, the same place where everything had started. She spoke slowly, choosing each word like it mattered. Because it did. I saw him. She said. Ethan smiled, not surprised. How did it feel? Scary, she admitted, and familiar. Did it feel wrong? He asked. She shook her head. No. Ethan leaned back in his chair. Then that's your answer. Weeks passed. Sarah and Daniel met again. Tea, then. Again. After that, coffee walks, long talks that didn't rush anywhere. No pressure. No pretending. Just two people learning how to speak honestly again. Sarah noticed changes in herself. She laughed more. She slept better. She stopped rushing through days like they were something to survive. One evening, she stood in the kitchen making dinner. When Ethan walked in, you look different, he said. She smiled. I feel different. That's good, he replied. Later that night, Sarah stood alone, looking at her reflection in the window. She didn't look younger. She didn't look transformed. She just looked present. She realized something then. She hadn't failed by choosing her son first. She had only delayed choosing herself. Love hadn't disappeared. It had waited, and this time she wasn't afraid to open the door.